Krista Judge. She is a marvelous OT and has really unique perspectives because of her work with kids in the therapy world on not only how OT and speech and PT, if you're doing one of those for your kids, how that affects their brain, but also from the inside, the gut health and how the skin affects the gut and how all that together can really impact your child's brain. So not only affecting their development, but the progress they're making in therapies or reflex integration or whatever else you're doing in that world as well. So welcome, Krista.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ty. It's such an
Yeah.
honor and pleasure to be here with you today.
Yeah, happy to have you. So before we dive in, tell us just a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you're at today.
Yeah, of course. So, yes, my name is Krista Judge. I've been an occupational therapist for 8 years now. It has been an exciting journey. I've worked in the private practice setting, in a clinical setting, as well as doing in-home therapies. And now I'm branching out into my own business that will be soft launching this spring. But in the meantime, I've also been learning a lot about my own body. I have a rare form of cancer called pheochromocytoma, and I've really come to learn what a gift it is to know how your body works and to be able to integrate that information into your daily life. And so that's what I love to empower people to do, is to really understand their bodies and then have options for what they can do to achieve those healthy goals that they desire.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think for any sort of healthcare practitioner, you have the experience you get from the clients and the patients that you work with, and then you have the experience from your own life as well. So I love that you can bring both of those to the table.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's dive in then as far as affecting the brain from inside and the gut health. And I guess I'll leave it up to you. Do you want to start with the gut? Do you want to start with the skin? What do you want to start with today?
Yeah, it's kind of like, where do we start, right? Because we are truly connected beings, and we're certainly coming to learn more and more on what it is that our bodies are affected by and how we can in turn control responses and control the environment and control what it is that we're putting on and in our body that's impacting us day to day. And so, yeah, where do we start? I would say, why don't we just start briefly with the skin? The skin, as we know it, is our first line of defense. It's our largest organ in the now I'm going to, of course, mess up this word. You can help me. Integumentary system. There we go. That's all right.
That works.
And you don't all have to know all this deep information to understand how our bodies work. It is a living, breathing organism, and really that it is a permeable surface. So while becomes a barrier for environmental stimuli from being absorbed, there's also certain things that your body is designed to absorb or just happen to penetrate your skin. And so really coming to understand that what we put on our skin, not all of it, but around 60% is absorbed into our bloodstream and major organs within about 30 seconds. And so if you think about how much you're putting on your body day to day, whether that be lotions or wipes that you're using or any of those things, just really coming to know how are those things affecting our skin and in turn our body. And so as we come to learn more about our skin, we know that that's a part of what we do. And an easy way to think about that is a medicinal patch. That's one of those things that does allow for things to pass through your skin and be absorbed. And so then what happens then when it goes into your body? So your body's designed to have these great receptors that communicate with your brain. And this is why I've loved working with Dr. Ty, because he's really helped me understand my alignment in my body and how much having a good neural pathway through our neck, through our spine, all the way leading to our brain, how important that is for us to really be able to move with purpose, be able to executively think, function, and plan. And so with the body, there are these receptors. And we're familiar with our five senses, right? Of tasting and touching and those common ones, but lesser heard ones are interoception, proprioception, and vestibular function. And so we're not going to dive into all of those today, but interoception is a great one because it ties right into the gut.
Right.
And so, yeah.
And that's just to kind of jump in quick, I think if you are a parent watching this and your kiddo is in, say, OT or PT or speech, especially in the OT world, the proprioception is something you might have heard of, the movement of our joints, and that really is calming for the brain. But I rarely find, and I don't really know that much about it myself, that's why I'm talking to you today, Krista, but the interoception piece, I think, is like super, it's just not talked about at all, yet it's huge for the brain to feel healthy. So I'm excited, and I just, even going back to like that 60% gets absorbed is such a huge number. I think of even like a nicotine patch or something like that, that I just picture like, oh, you put that on and now it's the same as having nicotine inhaled. It's pretty powerful stuff.
Right.
So excited that we can now start to link together. Because I picture too with like things on our skin at a day, a week at a time, it's maybe not a big deal, right? But all those things you say, I think the biggest thing we always talk about with our families is, what if it's day after day for 365 days a year, and now you have 10, 20, 30 years of that? That's like thousands of exposures of all those little things. So it really does make a big difference.
Right. Yeah. And I'll just leave this little bit here for people to kind of look into on their own. It's just because I don't want to dive into politics too much or anything, but you can take a look. What's the difference between the FDA, the European Union guidelines, and that will help you kind of come to understand what it is that Dr. Ty and I are even talking about in terms of what you're using for products and stuff like that.
Right. And I think the quick summary around that is the FDA is way more lenient. That's what we use here in the U.S. And in other countries and other continents, like in Europe, they understand better the impact that these things have, so they do require stricter regulations on it.
Right. There's a bit more of a forward-thinking measure on how the EU goes about their substance ban, and they sit around about 1,400 toxic ingredients that they'll ban from going into products that go onto the shelves to consumers. And the reason that they have that such a big number is because they believe in testing an ingredient first to make sure it's safe before it goes into a product. And it's a little bit different the way the laws have been designed in the U.S.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. And that's why I just wanted, before we dive into that next part with the gut and the interoception, just to really kind of paint a light to the importance of the skin piece. And then now we'll start to connect the dots.
Yeah.
So as we dive back now, and you put something on your skin that gets absorbed into your blood, and now it's going through your bloodstream, and there's receptors in your body that it can start to impact. So let's continue on then on the interoception piece on the inside.
Right. So interoceptors. So I'm just glancing here at my anatomy and physiology book from before I was even in OT school, and I'm finding so much of the information that I'm seeking is just such a fundamental thing and found in a basic book like this. 101, any medical professional has to take this course. And really, interoceptors, they describe as they monitor a variety of stimuli, including chemical changes, tissue stretching, temperature. Sometimes even their activity causes us to feel pain, discomfort, hunger, and thirst. And I find it very interesting here. They say something along the lines of, however, we're usually unaware of their workings. And I find that to be so interesting. And this book was published in 2008. And this other book this article that I came across that helps then dive deeper into what is this interoception, it really comes to understand that it's a precursor for an emotional response too. So not just hunger, thirst, detecting those types of things. And again, we're talking about the deep structure of the gut at a very microscopic level, but also that sensations from the body underlie most, if not all, our emotional feelings, particularly those that are intense and most basic to survival. So again, such as hunger, temperature, pain. But then they go on to say about positive emotion, affection, and intimacy, fear, anger, and aggression. And so when we think of this as these are signals that are being sent to our brain, and when there's a disruption between those signals and there's interference, that's where it becomes difficult to interpret information. Or if you think of like, I just got some tough news, and I just don't feel like eating right now, right? Like that, there's an emotional response tied in with a physical response.
Yeah, and I think that's something we see so much more nowadays is how gut health impacts your immune system, but also your emotional state, because things like serotonin and those feel-good chemicals are made so much in the gut.
Right.
And I feel the common thing I hear a lot is that, well, if your gut health is so important, it's all about what you're eating, what you're eating, what you're eating. And what you're saying with the interoceptors is that those recognize chemicals. So even if you're eating really cleanly, if something's going through your skin or elsewhere, it still is going to impact them the same way.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a system that works together. That mind, body, skin connection. Exactly. So. Yeah, I love that. That was exactly, yeah. So how does this all relate in terms of like, what can we do for ourselves? Like, how do we take care of ourselves? And for me, as I've been on this journey, I've come to learn, how important it is, yes, what I'm eating, and that I've learned does impact, especially with, as you mentioned about serotonin, but even just blood sugar levels, and how when we see different fluctuations in our blood sugar, how that impacts our mood and our emotional regulation as well. And then what we're eating impacts our blood sugar. And so, we've all maybe heard the phrase hangry, or, and that's really coming to understand that, like, we have emotions that are tied in with gut response, and that what we're putting on our external surface, our skin as well, also comes in to that area of our body and can be either a supporter or a disruptor.
Right. We have a lot of families that will come in after school, and once in a while kids come in pretty hangry, and we give them a little snack pack, and they sit down in their chair, they take a few bites, and then you just kind of see them coming back to themselves, and they settle in, and it's amazing how quick that mood changes. Or
yeah.
We also see parents too, like, oh man, they ate some Skittles today, or a certain dye, or like artificial flavor, something like that too, and that can, similar idea, that chemical reaction just triggers their nervous system to have a meltdown or a tantrum or behavior or defiance, whatever it looks like.
When I was in the clinic setting, primarily, I would see a lot of kids in my day, and we absolutely saw this as an underlying theme. Though at that time, I did not have the tools that I exactly needed to help families. Like, I could help them with, expanding diet repertoire, things like that. But I wasn't entirely sure at that point in my career what to even recommend to help. So, right, have a snack, and, you can change. But also what kind of snack you eat does also going to impact the outcome of how you feel in 10, 20, half an hour, how quickly it's processed into sugar in your body as well, and glucose for the brain, and your body's ability to be able to recover from that and balance blood sugar too. Yeah. So what, I think it might be good for me just to share at this point where I've gone in my journey with this. And so I was already on a path searching. I, like mentioned at the beginning of this, have a rare form of cancer, and thankfully I'm able to live with this cancer and live a pretty regulatory life. I have to plan energy and stuff like that, and that's where my OT expertise comes in and is helpful. But I also knew that things like that, like what I was putting on my skin, really mattered. I knew that what I was putting in my mouth, which, subsequently became fuel for my body, or poison for that matter, I knew all of those things really mattered. And I was like, well, what do I do now? There's so many fad diets. There's so many different theories. Like, where do I begin? And I think one word that really sums up a lot of it is alkaline. For me, I came to discover what pH in the body was like and what that means in terms of blood sugar regulation and acidity. And I came to find that in an alkaline state, and I don't have necessarily a research article, but really just this is my own personal experience, that in an alkaline state, your body has a greater ability to thrive and return to homeostasis. And so I started on an alkaline-based diet, incorporating even alkaline water at times, and really watching, eating a low glycemic index diet. But then what I was putting on my skin, I started to pay really close attention to. And I found myself in a lot of different stores, reading a lot of labels, not necessarily grasping everything I was looking at. But again, just knowing this is important, what do I do? And that's where a fellow OT introduced me actually to Dr. Tai and to Arbonne. And Arbonne has become a vehicle for me to help others in their health journey, but also in return help myself by just using products that are assured to be clean, pure, and safe.
Yeah, that's a good. I think it's nice when you have that community member introducing you, and I know we've talked like about Arbonne, and just so everyone's clear, like for introduced to me because of the neurological based chiropractic,
Mm-hmm.
and then introduced to Arbonne separately.
Right.
So that's something that from talking to Krista, what I like about Arbonne is that it does go by like the European standards for things, because I think there's so much in the US that we see like, oh, it was safe, it was safe, it was safe, and all of a sudden they're like, wait a minute, that drug, that food, that supplement, whatever it was, like was in the market for a while, and all of a sudden they realize, nah, it's not so safe. We got to take it off the shelves, and I see that pretty commonly in healthcare here. So it's
Yeah.
nice that there's a company that can have those pure ingredients and really takes more stringent approaches to what's acceptable or not. So for myself, I'm not in like I haven't tried them yet, but just little samples. Krista
Mm-hmm.
shared some with me, but what she has shared so far that I really like and support.
Yeah, and just recently, and then we'll probably be close to wrapping it up,
Mm-hmm.
is our Arbonne recently announced with their 40th anniversary this connection of mind, body, and skin. They see it as one connection, and so their philosophy for products is holistic and based in clinical science. So as an OT, it just spoke to be a good fit for me, and I look forward to in the future as I launch my OT business being able to refer people to this great resource. But just to be clear, like that would require a separate appointment, to have an Arbonne consultation with me and versus an OT consultation. So even though they all blend well together, there are two separate businesses, as Dr. Tai even just mentioned, how we were introduced. It kind of just came full circle overall, but it was a journey in the process of getting there.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so as you're watching this, and if you are, we when we see parents working with their kiddos, it's all right. They're doing good OT, maybe reflex integration. They're trying to learn the new skills. They're doing the neurological chiropractic to help connect their brain to their body and get calm from their body into their brain. And then if you feel there is that missing piece or something environmentally, like they're gluten free, they're casein free. It feels like I'm doing a good job there. It very well could just be other products in the environment that might be triggering your child's nervous system and holding them back from that next level of success. So if that's something that you do feel could be an option, definitely reach out to Krista. What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so I left some cards with Dr. Tai in the office. If you're in, you can grab one. And you can also comment below in this video if you'd like for us to get connected. You can private message me on Facebook as well. So I'm in the community. If you find me on Facebook, Krista Judge, you can find me there. Or just even asking Dr. Tai too. Thank you.
Sounds good. You're welcome. Thank you, Krista. And thank you guys for watching. I look forward to connecting again in the future. And any questions, reach out. We are here for you guys. So talk to you later.
Thanks. Bye-bye.